Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Brian. Today we're going to kind of cover the college football playoffs as they stand right now, and we're going to look into just some of the scores from the previous games, and then do a couple kind of dives into the games coming up, and then what I think the scores will be. I'm going to probably do a kind of predict some of the games a little farther out and go over them because it being the holiday season, people want to spend time with their families. You don't want to watch somebody on YouTube telling you about football, so. I'll give you the result now so we can get that out of the way. If you did watch some of the previous games, you'll know that Miami beat Texas A&M 10-3. Very low scoring game, very defensive game. But yeah, I think I know a lot of Texas A&M fans are really disappointed with that. Obviously, well, when you lose normally, but it was not a good showing at all. So unfortunate, but so Texas is moving into the next round. Ole Miss stomped Tulane, wasn't particularly close. So that kind of went as one might expect. Um, and then Oregon played James Madison. Now, that was actually a pretty good game. Obviously, when the score is 51-34, you're like, wow, that wasn't even close. And you'd be right on a numerical level. But James Madison put up 500 yards of offense on Oregon. That's nothing to sneeze at. So they played their hearts out. They showed up and kudos to them. And a lot of Oregon players are saying the same thing. Hey, like they came up and they played. So, kudos to James Madison. Obviously, everybody kind of saw that the writing on the wall, but they came and they showed up. So kudos to them. Um, the other couple games, Alabama, Oklahoma. I I wanted Alabama, Oklahoma to win, but knowing Alabama, beating them twice in a year is only something a few teams have done. I believe Michigan has done it in the recent past, but other than that, like that does not happen very often. So I'm not really surprised that Alabama won, but Oklahoma just kind of got away from themselves. They had a couple turnovers and they kind of got away from their ground game. And Alabama came back from 17 down 17 nothing to put up 34. They basically outscored Oklahoma 34-7 the rest of the game. So Oklahoma's better than that, I think, but they kind of got away from themselves, and they're gonna have to live with that and learn with that. So now they get to watch from the couch. So Western Michigan beat Kansas State. NC State beat Memphis pretty convincingly. For those of you who are fans of those teams, Arkansas State and Missouri. Was it Missouri State? I believe that was Missouri State's first bowl game at this division. But hey, you made it your first year. Nothing to be ashamed of. Well done for getting there. Old Dominion beat South Florida. Kind of surprising, not gonna lie. And then Delaware beat Louisiana. Also kind of surprising, but hey, congrats. Jacksonville State beat Troy when they played. I did not watch any of that game because not a fan. Uh, Navy beat Army. Boo. But oh well. Maybe next year. And then Washington beat Boise State pretty convincingly, 38-10. Washington is somewhat underrated. Um, and then upcoming, I believe that is on January 2nd. Hold on, let me go up here a second real quick. I got to find these games real fast. All right. Today is December 23rd for those of you who are watching this. Uh want to know what day is December 23rd. Louisville is currently playing Toledo. Southern Miss and Western Kentucky also play today, along with Ohio, not Ohio State, Ohio and UNLV. And then Wednesday, that'd be tomorrow, the 24th, will be California, Hawaii. Friday, the 26th, will be Northwestern, Central Michigan, Minnesota, New Mexico, and UTSA, FIU. And then Saturday, we get into some of more of the ranked teams you're familiar with. BYU plays Georgia Tech, should be a great game. Missouri plays Virginia. Houston plays LSU. And I think I covered most of these: San Diego State, North Texas, Pittsburgh, East Carolina, Clemson, Penn State, Army, West Point, and UConn, and then Fresno, Miami, Miami of Ohio. And Monday, December 29th, is App State and Georgia Southern. And Tuesday, December 30th, is TCU, Southern California, Louisiana Tech, Coastal Carolina, and Illinois and Tennessee. I covered those in my previous video, but Also, I think those should be some really good games. And now we're getting into the games from some of the playoff games moving forward. Um, on December 31st, Miami of Florida is going to play Ohio State. If, for those of you who know the history, there has been some interesting games between these two teams in the past. So if history repeats itself, Ohio State will win. Um, but we'll see. This could be really interesting. It's gonna be a real test for Ohio State because Miami is no joke. I do think my Ohio State will win this game because I think they are better in most aspects, but Miami is not a team to overlook. So that will be interesting. I really think Ohio State wins that, but once again, never overlook your opponents. So and on the 31st, Texas is playing Michigan. So, not gonna do a too deep of a dive, but, obviously there's a coaching thing going on with Michigan right now with Sharon Moore having the legal trouble and the mental health problems he has. Keep praying for him. As much as you may if you're watching this, you may not like Michigan, that's fine. Totally get it, but, you need to let the law and everything sort out and just you don't wish those kind of issues on anybody because clearly he had a mental break, and it's unfortunate, so we hope for that he gets help and gets the help he needs to get through this. Obviously, if he did something wrong, as they're saying he did, we condemn. Everybody condemns that. No excuse for that. But you can separate that from, wishing somebody's mental health so that they don't hurt themselves or others. But Biff Poggi will be leading Michigan onto the field that day. So I know that they're saying he wants to be Michigan's head coach. That could be interesting. We shall see. Um, Going up against Texas. Texas is, if the Texas that played, you know, against like OU and everything showed up, yeah, they're Michigan's in trouble. But if this is Texas that showed up against like Kentucky and lost to 3-9 Florida, then Michigan could very well just run the ball at them all game long, and nothing Texas will do. So I think Texas wins that one just because of a lot of the emotional toll this has taken on Michigan lately. But that's not to say Michigan doesn't come out there and just say, "Hey, we're going to push all that aside and play the people in front of us." Do I hope that's the case? Yes, absolutely. But I think that Texas will be a little more focused and a little more ready to ball out as time comes. So I'll probably cover that game a little more in depth. We'll see. Then Vanderbilt, Iowa. Gonna be a good game. I know that a lot of people are resentful of how Diego Pavia handled himself at the Heisman ceremony. He said some things that were not right, but at the same time, I think Vanderbilt's a better team. So I think they probably win that one. Utah is facing Nebraska. Dylan Raiola with all his transfer portal drama. Who knows? That stuff is out of hand. So probably Utah beating Nebraska, and Duke fair plays Arizona State. I think Arizona State probably wins that. They just re-signed their head coach for a hot minute. So Thursday, January 1st will be the quarterfinals. It'll be Alabama, Indiana. Should be a fascinating game. I really think Indiana could absolutely pull that off. Absolutely. I think Indiana is the truth. I think they are ready to play with all the big boys. I think they want all the smoke. I think they know how they have to beat Alabama because Alabama's run game is not what it used to be. It's just not. So you really have to give Indiana credit for getting this far. And of course, Alabama getting this far too. It's not to take away from them, but give Indiana credit for getting this far and knowing how to beat the teams they've beaten. You don't just go to you don't just go to like Ohio State or sorry, they didn't go to Ohio State. You don't just go to Oregon and beat them in their own house. That doesn't just happen out of thin air. That is a real Indiana team, and I think they are fully capable of shutting Alabama down. Now, both teams will score plenty, yes, but I really do think Indiana wins that one for sure. So, but could be wrong. Ole Miss and Georgia, a rematch of the game from a really good game earlier this season. I think Ole Miss learns from this. I really think they do. I think that I think Ole Miss wins this game. I think that they're learning from their mistakes and they're developing and growing. And yeah, I think that's going to be a I think it's going to be a great game. But I think Ole Miss pulls it out. At Oregon and Texas Tech, this is where the rubber really meets the road for Texas Tech. If you people like understand you only had one loss during the season, I believe it was Arizona State. So you're still everybody believes in you, but if Oregon walks into there and just takes a belt to you, man, Texas Tech, you're gonna be getting called frauds because you play in a conference that's not terribly strong. Do I think you're frauds? No, but people will be saying that. So if Texas Tech does not beat Oregon, then will see some interesting things being said online for sure. And some commentary is going to be directed at them. Are they legit or do they just play the conference as such conversations go? So Oregon should win that game, but if Texas Tech is real, then they have a very better than average chance of beating Oregon. So I think personally, I would like to see Texas Tech win, not because I hate Oregon. I just want to see some variety in the playoffs. So, and then Friday, the January 2nd, we have SMU in Arizona. I'd like to see Arizona win, but SMU is not a team to sneeze at by any stretch. Then you have Texas State and Rice, Cincinnati and Navy, Mississippi State and Wake Forest. So some games just kind of take up your time, but realistically, these are not the high flyers of the playoff, time frame, playoff season. So, um, yeah, that's pretty much it. And then, of course, as time goes on, the winners of those previous games I mentioned will go on to face each other in the, you know, if Indiana wins, they move on, so on and so forth. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. And I think people for example, Michigan fans are going to be realistically maybe not tuning into the bowl game quite as much because of all the drama. I think that would be a mistake. Michigan players and coaches, they need the fans to be there, cheering them on, be there for your team. Don't be a bandwagon fan that you're only there when things are going well. Get on there, get out there, push the wagon if you have to, but be a real fan and, show that if you love the team, you love the team. So I think that would make I would think these are kids playing a sport. If they know that people are looking at them and cheering them on, there's a certain level of morale that comes from that. So we have to be cognizant of that. And as fans, show up. Even if Michigan gets absolutely belted, cheer them on. You know, be a good fan. Also be a good. I mean, it's good sportsmanship too for both ways. But just be genuine, be a good fan, and you know, do what we can to help our team. That obviously I'm a fan of, and if you're probably watching this, you're probably a fan to a certain extent or another, or the exact opposite. But you know, I fully hope to see Michigan up fans in the stands there, and online watching and cheering our team on. So, um, yeah, I hope everybody has an amazing holiday season, Christmas. All if Hanukkah, if that's your thing, or whatever the case may be. I hope everybody's having a great holiday season. Thank you for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. And like, comment, subscribe. If you have any ideas for making the channel better, by all means, let me know. But thank you so much. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's to everybody. Peace.